Welcome to the Aaron Harbor Show. We are in Miami at the annual conference of the National Association of Television Program Executives, or NATPE, hearing firsthand from key insiders how the television industry has changed over the past 2 decades. Diversity, technological advancements, and streaming's disruption of classic programming models are all on the table. So let's take a look with our first guest, Nichelle Turner of Entertainment Tonight.
Nichelle, tell me about your career. I mean, you've just done such, I mean, you've reached such incredible heights in a relatively short period of time.
Well, I don't know about short. I'm 22 years in to this career. I'll be 44 next month, and so I've been doing this for quite a while.
You look 10 years younger.
Well, thank you.
At least.
Yeah, I have a degree in broadcast journalism from the University of Missouri. Well, I started in Evansville, Indiana. I was there for a year. Then I went to New Orleans, Louisiana, and I was there for 5 years. I would have stayed there for the rest of my life.
It's a major market.
It's my favorite place. I would have stayed there forever if Los Angeles hadn't offered me a job. And so from New Orleans, I came to Los Angeles to do a morning show, and I was there for almost 5 years. And then I decided to transfer over to sports full time. So I left the local morning show I was doing in Los Angeles and went to Fox Sports. And I did sideline for the NFL on Fox for 5 seasons. And I did Major League Baseball and college basketball. And then I left there and I went to CNN. And I was the entertainment anchor for CNN from 2011 to 2014 when Entertainment Tonight offered me the job. And I didn't leave CNN fully. I'm still a contributor there. I couldn't leave my CNN family completely.
Jeff Zucker wouldn't leave you alone.
No, Jeff Zucker didn't want me to leave, and I didn't want to leave Jeff Zucker. so right now I'm the weekend host at Entertainment Tonight, and I'm also still a CNN contributor.
What do you like most about ET?
Well, first of all, it gives me a great platform to, be who I am and make some change in this business. But what I love most is, listen, I am a country girl from rural Missouri who grew up on a farm, whose mama still lives there on a gravel road, and I get to sit in front of the likes of Brad Pitt and Denzel Washington and Will Smith and Julia Roberts and have conversations with these people. That's a dream. It's a dream, and I don't take any of it for granted. None of it goes past me. It's really, really a great life. And, I dreamed, actually, I never even dreamed this dream. It's surpassed the dreams that I dreamed for myself. So, I'm blessed, and listen, I would never have imagined it.
All right, what could you imagine next?
Well, I am a self-proclaimed foodie. It comes honestly because I come from a family of cooks. So cooking and food is my therapy. So I've been developing my own cooking show. So I'm hoping to do that. I love the talk space. I love the daytime talk space. I'd love to do something like that. But I'm happy at ET.
Am I talking to the next Oprah?
It would be nice. That would be very nice.
If anybody could do it, you could do it.
It would be nice.
So, one of the things that you just did an incredible job leading a discussion about the industry.
Well, they were easy.
Well, that's true. It was like that was a home team.
Yeah.
But talk a little about how you've seen the industry change, and really, I'd be really interested in just your own personal experiences when you started out.
Absolutely.
And kind of the barriers you faced and the challenges you had to come up against.
Well, I still face them. I'm still, fighting for that safe and significant place. To be honest, one of the changes I've seen is where I am now at Entertainment Tonight, along with myself. Kevin Frazier is one of the hosts. Having 2 people of color at Entertainment Tonight is a big deal. I'm the first black woman that they've hired there full-time in almost 30 years. I don't take that lightly. I don't take that responsibility lightly. And for me, I think it's a really important and special time because for a long time in this industry, one of the nicknames for Entertainment Tonight, and it wasn't a good one, was Entertainment Too White, because there wasn't a lot of representation. And I think our current climate of executives at CBS Television Distribution realized that's a problem. And I think that number one, they've made good choices of who to put on TV, but also to know that television should mirror what we live. and television should mirror our society. And so the fact that they've done that, and the fact that they, look past the color of my skin, but it also is representative of what we need to have in diversity is special. So that's one of the good things. But I think in my career, I do feel like that I've trailblazed in a lot of ways, being one, of the only black women in a lot of situations. I mean, when I went to Fox Sports, Pam Oliver was there, and she's the gold standard in sideline reporting, but I was, like the second girl they'd had in a really long time, an African-American female, and it really was, a special time for me, because you want to make sure you're doing the best job to pave the way for the future. So, those are all things I had to do. We were up on the panel and talking about, when you have that conversation with an executive, or they call them the gatekeepers, of someone who says, well, you should be happy with what we gave you. I had that exact situation happen to me in Los Angeles when I came here to work. I was offered a chance to be the replacement for Star Jones at The View, well, to be in the running for it. I want to make that clear. They didn't offer me the job, but they said, we want to test you. And my boss wouldn't let me go, which was ridiculous. But what he had said to me in the process, you should be grateful for what we give you. Oh no. That type of coded language, those type of barriers where it's like, little girl, shouldn't you just be happy where you are? That fuels you. And that's, it's a fight that I'm still fighting.
All right, two quick questions.
Yeah.
One is, because you've done sports, news, sports, CNN, I'd be interested in your perspective, the contrast when it comes to representation in terms of people on sports programs compared to some of the other genres you've been in.
Well, now, because a lot of sports networks are hiring former athletes, you're getting like the numbers skewed in a total other way. I mean, they're usually like 70% African American on the networks because they hire a lot of former athletes and bring them in. So sports is a little different. I do think one of the things that we really need to work on still in the sports world is women are often pigeonholed to that sideline reporting role, or to that girl on the street, or whatever. And I think that we need to start seeing women in different roles. Doris Burke is a champion. She's wonderful at play-by-play, and she's one of the best, I think. And I think recognizing that and still putting her in positions to win and do big games so it becomes the norm and not the exception to the rule is very important in the sports world. But of all areas, the sports representation, I think, is the strongest in diversity. I think that news and entertainment struggle. There's a lot of strides that still need to be made, and hopefully they will.
Keep up the
Thank
good
you
work.
so much.
We
I
appreciate
that.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbortv.com.
Safely stop fires around your home. Introducing the Fire Ice XT 20-ounce aerosol canister. Fire Ice XT is an eco-friendly water-based fire suppressant gel. Unlike a traditional fire extinguisher, Fire Ice XT is a highly effective, non-toxic firefighting agent that is easy and safe to use around your home, family, and pets. Available at Amazon.com or call 800-924-4874.
I'm Aaron Harbour, host of The Aaron Harbour Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scenes photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Join me and watch The Aaron Harbour Show.
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 I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch The Aaron Harbour Show and keep hope alive.
I'm Aaron Harbour, host of The Aaron Harbour Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scenes photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today.
The Aaron Harbour Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the Aaron Harbour Show's broadcast on the state of the television industry with our special guest, actor Esai Morales of La Bamba and Ozark fame.
I'm with Yusai Morales, and of course Ozark is huge now, but you've had an incredible career.
Thank you.
What are really some of the highlights that to you resonate the most?
Wow, that's a good question.
We only have an hour.
Okay, so I'll hurry. Well, my first job ever, Bad Boys with Sean Penn, who's had an incredible career. That put me on the map. And then this movie called La Bamba kept me on the map, and
that was huge.
That was a very big hit, especially for its time, and making over $100 million in the 80s. And then, I went to television, did NYPD Blue. That was an incredible experience. I've done so many jobs, I can't recall them all, but a highlight was playing the President of the United States on an HBO show called The Brink, which is an amazing show with Tim Robbins and Jack Black and an incredible cast. And then, Ozark really has gotten me more love than anything since La Bamba.
Now, why is that, do you think?
Because I have to give the credit where the credit is mainly due, and that's the writers and the producer-directors. Jason Bateman is a beast. He executive produced the show, stars in it, and directs the first 2 and the last 2 episodes. So he's a workaholic and an entertaining guy, and he knows his craft. He knows his brand. So there he was, taking himself, who normally does comedy, in a different milieu, and playing somewhat of a morally compromised guy who you still love. So I think that the dark tone of the show, the incredible cast, Laura, his wife on the show is just amazing. It came together so well, and my character is not just a bad guy, but he's a very smart, deadly businessman, which is probably the worst thing you want coming after you. So I just felt honored to be on a show where, I'm playing the cartel guy, which is, a conflict for me, because you don't always want to represent your people like that. But when he's so smart and so suave
and complicated
and just, you never know what's going to happen with him. I just thought, I got to jump on this opportunity. I don't mind playing a bad guy, but it's got to have 3 dimensions.
All right, and speaking of bad guys, and in terms of typecasting, one of the things you've talked a lot about is, that when you look at bad guys and you look at actors of color, whether it be black, Hispanic, whatever, and if it's a Mexican cartel leader or whatever, how is Hollywood, or is it evolving past that?
I think it is, but ever so slowly. I think it tries. I think most people in Hollywood do their best not to step in it, proverbial, droppings, but they don't know better sometimes, and some folks don't care. But I'm here to tell people to take it easy and don't assume that everyone just wants to oppress you or your people. It's just what people are used to. So I think it is evolving, but it's still dependent upon a lot of the old tropes, a lot of the old conventions as the other as bad guy, whether it's Russians if you're Anglo, or not Anglo, but fair-skinned, Japanese or Asian or African or African American or Latin American.
There's a common theme there, though.
It's other. Other is easier to identify. Literally black and white in the old movies. The good guy wore white, the bad guy wore black, because it just made it easier. I think our audiences have evolved now to the point where we don't have to be so simplistic or primitive about it, and we can realize that no one is all good nor all bad. That we live in shades of gray, and that even good people do bad things and bad people do good things.
One of the really interesting aspects of the industry is that study after study has proven that when you have a cast that's diverse, the odds are much greater it's going to be a profitable project, whether it be television or film. Do you think that really is true? And if so, why hasn't the industry moved quicker?
I think people go with what they know. The diversity thing has become kind of a bad word at times, I don't like enforced diversity. I don't want to feel like I'm on a project because they had to check off a box.
Right.
You want this to be
2 boxes.
Yes, exactly. But you want to know that your success is merit-based. And yet you also want to reflect reality. So I call it trueversity, you know. It's, in other words, a real reflection of the world. But I just think that, you know, it's a very difficult tightrope to walk. Like everything nowadays, you can step on it or in it in any number of ways now. With everything's a microaggression or you know, offensive. The word offensive. People are so easy to offend nowadays. In some cases, it's warranted. In other cases, I think we've gotten a little oversensitive, and I think some folks will take advantage of any opportunity to, you know, create a stink and say, hey, look at that, you know, and I think we're abusing that, and I think we've got to become a little more judicious as to what we lend our attention to, what we join, what choruses we join in indignation, you know, in cries of indignation. So I completely forgot what your question was. I'm trying to answer like...
No, you more than answer it. Well, two quick questions, though, in that vein. Number one, what advice would you give to young people seeking a career in the industry, especially an acting career, where the competition is so extraordinary? You can use a lot of excuses about not succeeding, but what would your advice be?
Well, to find out what about yourself is unique, because only you are you. So that's one thing you can start from. What is unique to you? What about your experience, your legacy, like what you were given by your parents, your heritage, you know, physically and culturally? What makes you different? And honor that while keeping an eye out for everyone else's. I tell people, learn to love and love to learn. It's a kind of, you know, a circular thing, because if you learn to love, you will learn to love even those you're not supposed to love. Like when I said bad people earlier, bad people do good things, I was correcting myself in my head. I don't believe people are bad. I believe people do bad. I believe people go bad. But most people in general were born innocent little babies. Most people. Some were hatched. But for those that were born innocent little babies, you got to learn to love so that that child can grow in love as well. And when you play a character who's a bad character, you're not playing bad. Twist your mustache evil. You're playing a person who believes that what they're doing is right to a fault. You know, so that learn to love is applied in many areas, and then love to learn. Take any opportunity you can to increase your mind, to increase the knowledge of others. Watch, observe, because what you do as an actor or as a performer is reflect real life. Art imitates life, and sometimes life imitates art. But that's what, you know, find out why you're unique, find out why you were born, number one, honor that, because thousands of other combinations of your parents' DNA could have been there. Why you? And rest on the fact that while there's a lot of competition, nobody can do you better than you. And what that means is that you have to find out the core of your essence. Why you? Why are you a good person? Why does your life matter? And just, you know, just don't let failures define you, let them refine you. Because no one is just, you know, is born into success immediately. Success is built upon a mountain of not so much.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbortv.com.
The Rex Howell Broadcaster of the Year Award recognizes an individual who, through leadership, skill, and dedication, is advancing the broadcast industry in our state and our nation. Tonight, we honor Aaron Harbor. Aaron has worked extensively in the media as a host, producer, political and economic commentator, and columnist. Today, the Aaron Harbor Show is the focus of his media involvement. Aaron, it is a privilege to present you with the Rex Howell Broadcaster of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Just make journalism great again.
Join me and watch the Aaron Harbor Show.
Watch the Aaron Harbor Show.
Watch the Aaron Harbor Show.
Watch the Aaron Harper Show.
Watch the Aaron Harper Show.
I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch the Aaron Harper Show and Keep Hope Alive.
I'm Aaron Harper, host of the Aaron Harper Show. I very much would like to hear from you about the program, so please send me an email with your thoughts. You can suggest what topics I should cover, what guests I should invite to be on the show, or even what specific questions you would like me to ask. This is your program, so send your suggestions to aaron@harbortv.com. I promise to personally read every one, so email me today. And most of all, thanks for watching.
The Aaron Harper Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at www.harbortv.com.
Welcome back to the Aaron Harper Show's broadcast in Miami with special guests from the television industry. Joining me now is Ben Lobato from Queen of the South. I'm with Ben Lobato. Ben, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's an honor.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, tell me a little bit about your journey. I'd love to hear more about that.
After high school, I went into the military and I did 6 years in military police. I worked in counter narcotics, and I always planned to do what I'm doing now. I just didn't know how to do it, and I needed money for school. I knew I needed to go to college and get an education, and so I thought, well, I'll go on a great adventure, and it'll give me some stories to write about, and that's kind of how it happened.
So after the military then, what was your next step?
After the military, while I was in the military, I got my bachelor's degree in media arts and creative writing. I began writing short films. I won some awards. I wrote plays. I won some awards, and then I went to grad school. I got once I was released from the military, and I did everything I could do to break in, which was, for me at that time, there were a lot of screenwriting competitions. There were a lot of film festival competitions, and I had a film that was an award winner. It was a Student Academy nominee, and but it went around and it won several awards, and I sent it to every film festival I could find online, and that's what I did. I mean, I probably submitted to 100 festivals, maybe got into 25, and that's how I started to get to know people. I submitted screenplays to competitions, and I won awards, and slowly but surely I began to meet people, and I ventured out to Hollywood.
So for the show today, tell me about your involvement and the kind of time it takes.
Wow. So I started on this show season 1, and season 1, it was a little bit bumpy. We had a couple of moments of crisis, and the thing about crisis is there's always opportunity. And so I was in the midst of that because of my experience, not only culturally, but because of my experience in law enforcement and just my personal experience. I had a lot of knowledge, and I became the go-to guy. That was season 1. Season 2, season 3, I remained on the show. Now we're at season 4, and I'm the showrunner.
So, being a showrunner, huge responsibility, just in terms of the whole organization, making sure everything runs smoothly, making sure everybody is happy as possible, which I know you can't always do. How have you found that experience so far? I mean, it strikes me as hugely challenging, and a lot of showrunners get burned out real quickly.
That's right. Well, I'm very lucky. I have a good partner. Daylin Rodriguez is my partner. We co-run the show together, and I think it's a lot of work, for sure, but this is what we've been dreaming all our lives. This is what we wanted to do, and so when you wake up in the morning, look, I have 12 hours of work ahead of me, but this is what I want to do, and I'm really good at it, and I thrive in this environment. It just kind of starts to come natural.
During the first year, do you think the show would be as successful as it's become?
Nobody knew. I mean, it was a surprise hit. The show, we wrapped the show, it aired several months later, and lo and behold, it became a hit. And the phone started ringing. They wanted me to come back to the show. I'm the only writer from the original season.
Really?
So, which is interesting and unique.
Was that part of the challenge in the first year in terms of creatively?
Well, creatively, look, it's a show where Latinos are playing drug dealers. And so it's very sticky politically. I think that Sometimes when there's a brand new show, the studios and networks have competing visions of what they want to see, and so we had to find that happy medium. And once we did, the train took off and we were off and running.
And what about, I mean, not just in your show, but the challenge of typecasting? When you talk about, you know, Latinos playing drug dealers, whatever, not obviously always as complex as your show, as layered as your show, and varied as your show, but still, it seems the industry has that perspective in a big way.
I mean, yes, and I would say no. I'll say this: the Latinos that get the call to come in and work on the show are very happy to be working, and we're very happy to give them the work. And it's not just the Latino actors; it's writers, directors, people on the technical side. I kind of feel like, look, there's this interesting dynamic where we're conflicted because we're doing a show that perpetuates a stereotype of Latinos. On the other hand, guess what? There are a whole bunch of Latinos who were working who wouldn't be working otherwise. And also, television is a vehicle that creates stars. You have someone like Gina Rodriguez, who was on her show for I think they're wrapping up their 4th season, who's now becoming a major movie star, right? She's also producing her own projects. And I think it takes shows like this to give opportunities to people like myself, the actors on the show, new directors, new writers, to get the opportunities so they can branch out and do other things. At the same time, I look at it where we want to entertain, and I also see that, you know, in the 60s and the 70s, there was a thing called blaxploitation films. And the African American community went through this time when they made these very stereotypical films, and there was some pushback on it, but it created a lot of stars. And from there, they went off to be more mainstream, right? The Latino group as a whole hasn't been able to cross over in the same way in television and film. So I look at our show as something not exactly Latino exploitation, but it's something along those lines, where we're doing a show that's hugely entertaining, we're speaking to a specific audience, and we're giving a lot of opportunity to people who wouldn't otherwise have it.
Well, I'd be really interested in 2 things. One is really your reference to representation, that representation in terms of people working is at all levels throughout the show, not just what people see on the camera, but behind the camera.
That's right.
And which is a huge difference compared to most shows, isn't it?
It makes a huge difference. Now that myself and Daylin Rodriguez, we're running the show, we're specifically looking for Latino directors. When I started in this business, I started as a director. I wanted to direct. There was no path for that. And there weren't any Latino shows where somebody could say, hey, maybe we should have a Latino director direct that show. So now I'm the showrunner, and we're looking out the spectrum of who's out there. We're bringing in Latino directors and giving opportunities where there weren't opportunities before.
Looking ahead a decade, how do you think the industry will be different? Or do you think the industry will be different?
I think it's going to have to change, and I think it's going to begrudgingly change because of the economics. As the country becomes more ethnically diverse, the audience is going to demand shows that speak to them culturally and stars that look like them. And so I think that it's just going to happen. It's going to happen organically, and it's a smart business model, so it's going to happen.
All right, and for you personally, what would you like to do, not necessarily just next, but ultimately?
I mean, ultimately, look, we just heard this keynote address by Tyler Perry. If, 10 years from now, if I could be the Latino Tyler Perry, have my own studio, create opportunity for hundreds of people, that would be my goal.
Right. Well, I'm behind you 100%. That'd be great, Ben.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Please contact us. We want to hear from you. And thanks for watching.